Hello and welcome to another episode of the Creative Sligo series here on The Sligo Show with myself, Brendan Tierney. And this series of programmes has been brought to you in association with the Creative Ireland Sligo Fund. And we are meeting some of the most amazing creative people in and around the town and county of Sligo. And tonight, we're dying to get this lady on the show for a long time. You've all know her amazing work around the town wherever you drive. It is the one and only Marian Noone, aka FRIZ, which I'm going to call you for this interview. You're very welcome to the
thank
Sligo
you so
Show.
much. Yes, I'm so happy that we're finally getting to do this. I've been looking forward to it.
Very good, very good. And yeah, this is, as anyone watching, we don't often do the Zoom ones, but you know, you're a busy lady, you're up the far side of the country at the moment, so we're delighted to get you in any way we can. So for anyone that doesn't know you, Marian, like as I said, you're a native Sligo lady?
From Sligo, from Drumcliff, and I studied, I went to the Mercy, and I studied in what was the BEC back in the day. I think it's been renamed now. I did an art and design course there, and then moved on to do classical animation in Dublin and Ballyfermot. Ended up in Edinburgh somehow and went to Telford College and did illustration there for a year, and then basically moved to Belfast in 2008 for a year to give it a go, and that was 2008, and I'm still in the north. I'm now in Bangor, which is Belfast adjacent, but I've kind of made my home here now.
And when you were very young, were you always sketching and doodling? Was that your thing, or was it in the family scene?
Yeah, I mean, our family were very much, if you liked anything, if you enjoyed anything, whether it was a sport or a creative hobby or a musical instrument, it was totally encouraged. It's like, you want to do that? Okay. I got brought to Irish dancing classes. I got brought to tin whistle, brought to art classes, guitar, and the art's the only one that really kind of stuck at the end of the day.
Stuck. Okay, so river dance wasn't for you. So
I was too lazy for it. But it was always encouraged, and even it was my mum that suggested, I think it was on Nationwide, the Ballyfermot animation course there was just a segment on it, and she saw it one evening and she's like, would you ever do animation? And I was like, you can draw cartoons for a living? You'd let me do that? And she brought me down to the open day to Ballyfermot to check it out and encouraged me to apply for that. And I never went into animation, but everything that I'm doing now is informed by what I studied doing the animation course. It was life drawing. It was all the technical abilities that I learned doing that.
Okay. And I mean, we've talked to a number of people on this series, and some of them are young animators and illustrators as well. And I think it's nice, even some of the older people we've interviewed who've gone through the whole process and they've got their career path sorted, to have a supportive voice there was really special. So you definitely seem to have had that in your family.
100%. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, for young people budding, kind of following likes of your path, like, you know, it's obviously not the easiest path to go through, I assume. Like, is it, you kind of carved your own little niche out, really, or did you work for other people in that world at any point?
I didn't, no. I loved animation. I still love it and appreciate it as a medium, but I kind of knew my temperament, my focus was very, my attention span was very short. And animation, you need to stick with the project for a very long time. I moved to Belfast 2008. I took a week off work. I was working in an art shop part-time, which is great. And that's like moving to Northern Ireland facilitated that. I came from Edinburgh to Belfast, and the cost of living was half of what I was spending just to live in Edinburgh. So I was able to afford to do part-time work in an art shop. There was this Urban Arts Academy on in the waterfront of Belfast, and my friend had the flyer for it. And I just saw this, street art, what's that? £50 for a week, all your materials, and like really cool artists, including Kevlar, who's now my mate, but he was the local Belfast artist that was teaching it. So I was like, 50 quid, take my money. And I did that for a week. And then it got to the point where I started to do jobs, doing these street art events, live painting at festivals, things like that, doing workshops with youth groups. To the stage where my really lovely manager in the shop, I was requesting, like 5 weekends off in a row, and was making more money doing those weekends than doing the minimum wage job in the shop. And we had a talk about maybe it was time for for me to move on. So I worked up for a couple of months,
Yes.
saved up as well, which was important because I just needed that cushion, and basically went self-employed after that. So I've been self-employed since. And it's kind of like once you take the leap, you kind of have to make it work. You don't have the
Yeah.
safety net of the little part-time job. So um, it happened very organically over, say, 2 years where I had that safety net of the part-time job with, the nice discount on art materials as well, which was helpful. And
Yeah.
yeah, basically got to the point where I saved up a little bit of, cushion, had made enough connections, and I had enough repeat work working with different groups and things like that I was able to go full time. So yeah, it's very organic, very slow. It's not sort of a do this, and then you can be a full time artist. It was a little bit of everything, basically.
And I mean, I'm trying to think, you say Belfast. I mean, obviously it's very famous for its murals. I mean, I'm trying to remember Sligo back then maybe wasn't, full of, definitely not as many as it is now. So was Belfast a really welcoming, creative space to start doing
Yeah,
that kind of
Belfast
work?
still is very vibrant. It has a really good creative energy, and that was one of the things that kind of kept us here. My husband Jerry, who also actually paints with me, he's a musician by trade, and he was the reason that he moved to Belfast first actually to start his band, A Plastic Rose, and I kind of followed on afterwards. But found my little niche as well. But yeah, massive creative energy in the music scene, in the art scene, and murals. Yeah, do you know what I mean? There's a history of mural painting in the city, so therefore you don't have these sort of you don't have any red tape to do any of the painting work or anything like that. It's very much,
Yeah.
it's established already in some form and extent, so it made it a lot easier. There's also, there's big chunks of Belfast that are in dereliction and stuff like that, which makes it a lot easier to approach building owners and getting permission to do these murals
Okay.
because a lot of them, it's just an improvement, putting a coat of paint on some of the areas, in Belfast as well.
Yeah. So I mean, we walk around Sligo town. I mean, I'm a blow-in. Like I came here about 25 years ago now, and over the last, I don't know how many years since you've started doing some of the pieces. I mean, one of the latest ones, if I'm not mistaken, is the huge, massive owl down in the ATU. It's can you give us I'm going to be opening my phone here, so you'll have to excuse because we're going to go through a few of the photos and they'll pop
Yeah.
up as we're talking. So I'm just going to start with the owl because for me, it's it is just mind blowing. It's an icon of the town now. It's not just a lovely piece of
There is-
artwork. So from the first minute, you walk down. Can you give us an idea? Say you go in the Monday morning, and you say if you didn't stop working, how many days could that take
I
to
think
do
that
that?
one was a good 6 days, and that was with Jerry working with me as well. Now I'm kind of laughing because I literally
Okay.
just got news today that it's been painted out because there's been construction work done on the building. So this is
What?
the
Oh,
nature
what?
of street art and mural painting is it has a shelf
Okay.
life, but maybe watch this space. There could be potentially something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fresh project
yeah.
on the
It
way.
doesn't. You have to let these things go. Once you paint something on the street, it could last a week, it could last 5 years, 10 years, but you walk away from it knowing that it's not going to last forever. So that's just part and parcel of doing mural painting.
And a stupid non-artist question, obviously here, but I presume you do a lot of sketching first. Do you have to project onto the wall, or how can you? When you're that close to it, how do you know what you're doing? You can't stand
Yeah,
back
there's a
too
lot of
easily.
going up, painting a bit, coming down, going across the road, looking at it, taking photos, looking on your phone because sometimes that's the equivalent of walking really far away and seeing it from a distance. No, I would use when I started out, I would have, especially when my stuff was a bit more cartoony, I would have just free-handed it, adjusted the sketch, and moved on. But I don't know who figured this out, but in the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, this doodle grid system. People could just Google it. You'll find out what it is pretty easily. But if you've seen me paint, you might have seen me absolutely demolish a wall with scribbles first. I use that as a reference. I superimpose my sketch onto it just on my phone. I could do it then and there. And that just gives me a guide to get my first lines down. It just means there's no faffing about of sketching it, coming down, going, oh, I'll just go fix that. You get your sort of basic lines up, and then And then, the proportions are correct and you can kind of work from there.
Yeah. Is it like, obviously you're just a genius at it, but do you get frustrated doing it? Is it hard to do, boring? Like, or do you go, I love the process, or do you find some difficult?
Oh no, it's work at the end of the day. I mean, it can be hard work. It's rewarding and enjoyable, but sometimes it's like it's doing a banger right now. It's absolutely bucketing out of the heavens. So you have to work around the weather. That can be super frustrating. You have to work with machinery that can break down and all these different elements as well. And like any kind of piece of artwork, some of the most rewarding ones I've done, I'm fighting with it. I'm just trying to rein it in. It's going wrong halfway through, and you know what? You're not in your studio. Everyone's getting to see the process and the fight.
Yeah.
So especially when you're just trying to tweak raw, it, and everyone is just kind of watching you. But no, sometimes you fight with them. It's very rare it just goes super smooth. There's usually something. Probably the one of the best ones we did was recently in Auckland in the Mullet Peninsula in Mayo. We had 2 gable walls that we were doing for the Corncrake project, and the weather was just this. Do you remember back in May when we had that 1 week of nice weather? It's been atrocious.
Yeah. I vaguely remember it. Hope someone recorded it.
And also, just the weather was just perfect because it wasn't too hot. It was sunny, but it was still quite cool. It was May. There was no wind. Wind can be an awful factor as well. When you're trying to do dusty detail and it's carrying it. Wind is just It's not even reaching the wall. It depends what sort of style you're doing, but that was one of the sort of more painless murals that we did. But there's always something, but it's part and parcel of it. We usually the first day we try and we call it first day faff, because there's usually something goes wrong, or you usually don't get a lot done the first day, but then once you kind of get it all sorted and get in the groove, it starts to kind of flow.
It flows. So we're going to go through a few images that you have sent us, so anyone watching will be able to see them pop up. So we've already talked about the owl. Just on that, like, did they just say to you, just do something, or did you go, I have an idea? Like, did they give you any brief?
That one, I got a lot of creative freedom. I was supported there by Ivana and Aidan in the ATU. They were very, very supportive. They very much trusted me, should I say, because if you ever saw some of my sketches that I sent people, I don't want to spend too much time. I want to spend the time on the wall, but I need a kind of idea. The thinking was just celebrating knowledge, wisdom, some sort of tie with, a center of learning. The symbol of the owl for me is like, I'm really into my mythology. And that owl is the symbol of Minerva. She's the goddess of knowledge and learning. And that's, it's tentative, but when you kind of explain it, like, there is a tie there to why that's at the ATU, But they were, for that one I actually did have quite a few ideas, but we narrowed it down to this owl image, and it's just such a great wall. It's just this lovely, beautiful square with, you can stand back from it. So
perfect frame.
It was a great wall.
So I'll just quickly go through some of these. We'll tell everyone at the end the website, because there's just tons of them on your website to admire. Like, and you could really do a tour of Ireland to find them all. I'd say it'd be a great tourist attraction. I'm looking here. The lady.
Jerry Norman has done a map of Ireland with the location of all the walls, so it is on my website. So if anyone is interested, he spent a whole long day doing that, so it's worth pointing out.
So just to go through a couple of them quickly, just to find the story of them. Basically, there's one here which how can I describe a lady surrounded by magpies, and she's on a crown.
That was done for Hit the North. Not this year, last year. It's the Street Art Festival in Belfast, usually on the May bank holiday. Worth getting up for, because there's like tons of artists that come and paint at it. That one got complete creative freedom for that, because it's the festival. I just love magpies and I love shiny things. I'm a bit of a magpie myself, and I had done a piece like this on a really small scale, probably nearly 10 years ago, with some mates. This concept of, even though I think it's a bit of a myth, I don't think it actually applies to them, but magpies like shiny things and they steal shiny things. And I just like this idea of this woman sitting back and having this little flock of magpies just going and So she's completely dripping in gold, basically gold and diamonds, because it's called Pretty Little Thieves. So it's like her little magpie army go and gather little
Love it.
bits of, but that's just fun. That was just a real fun one. I really enjoyed it.
I know it's just so different and funky, like, and I'm just getting another one here where it's like two older people back to back with their birds on their shoulders. I mean, just briefly, what's the angle there? What's the story? There's obviously a story behind
Yeah,
everything,
that
which
one
is
was
amazing.
done for the Monaghan County Museum. They've opened a new Peace Campus, a new museum space, which is amazing in Monaghan. That was done earlier this year. The concept behind that was borders. So without getting too expansive into it, there's young people and older people on that wall. So like the borders of a life being birth and death and like, the ages, you've got these birds on their shoulders, and the birds are all migratory birds that usually land at some point in Ireland. Like the Arctic tern is the bird that actually crosses borders the most, and how nature doesn't see borders the way humans do. Monaghan is a border town, so you got the north, you got the hard border that we had growing up. Uh, it's there's layers to that one. There is, but
Layers. That's layers. And I'll quickly,
no,
sorry,
I was
go
just
on.
saying that was a really good one to do. It was a really fun one to do.
But they're so amazing, the detail and the color. They like, I'd say no one would drive past them. They'd have to pull in and have a look at it. Like, they're amazing. I'll just do one more quickly because I said I could spend 5 hours talking through them all, but I'll be telling people the website at the end to go and look at. It's a beautiful one here. What I can only imagine, I see a St. Bridget's cross, and it's like a lady with two faces
Yeah,
there. What's the
that's
what's the
probably
story
one of my
there?
better known murals. It's painted in Dundalk, and it's called Bridget of Faughart because Faughart is about 5 kilometers up the road from there, and they claim that that was where she was born. There's a festival there, Bridget Festival, every year, and that was done
Ah,
for the
okay.
Sikh festival. For me, it was quite important to show that there was like a goddess Bridget in Ireland before Christianity arrived, and you have Saint Bridget. So, and they share a lot of similarities between healing and all these things that tie them together and things that keep them separate. So for me, it's quite important to represent, which is why it's split down the middle and painted slightly differently on both sides. So that's just the sort of goddess and saint version of Bridget. Um, yeah.
No, they're amazing. As I said, we'll be popping these up as people are watching as well. I mean, before we let you go, I mean, I keep asking this to people on this series. Like, obviously you're thankfully you're obviously seem to be mad busy and it's all going well. Is there a way, would you like to see something done more to help people in the creative space, whether it's people like you or in other creative spaces? What do you think could be done to help?
Um, I mean, more funding. It's slightly different situation up here in the north compared to the south, because the arts funding is definitely per capita a lot less than what the spending is in the Republic. So for me here, anyways, it'd be like just more investment in just living artists, and art can't just be for people who can afford to do it. At the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
cutting out a lot of important voices. You're not getting a broad spectrum of people who have access to the arts. So yeah, more spaces for more creative spaces.
Yeah, not just funding. I think it's just allow people to be creative and let their work be shown around to more and
Yeah,
more people,
yeah,
I imagine.
definitely. It's interesting because like what I do is a lot of it is in the public space, and it's yeah, it's great to interact with people as well on that level. But I don't know. I wish I could solve it. What else can be done?
We'll get you into the government yet, and you'll solve it all. Solve it all. Before a very quick one, actually. What do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite
Do I
mural?
have a favorite? It probably changes every time I do something new because, like, I mean, I think most artists are like this. You kind of the work you did last year, you're kind of feeling like, okay, you're always moving forward. So I think one of my favorite
Mm.
pieces was from last year in Derry in Craigan. Um, I think I sent it to you there. It's the Derry Dryad. So again, it's this tie with mythology, kind of free reign to do that one as well. So I usually tend to tie it into the stuff that interests me. Derry is the Oak Grove, Oscailga, and I just love this idea of like the oak trees are very revered in Ireland in pagan times. And then with mythology, you've got in Greek mythology, you have the dryads who were spirits that protected trees. So I kind of envisioned this protective spirit of Derry, basically, and that's what I painted. And the sun was shining that week as well. It was too hot. We had to buy a
So
parasol.
made it
But that
easier
one's
as well.
actually led on to I'm doing a project in Greece at the end of this month, and it's kind of generated this second in Greece
In
in
Greece.
Athens, yeah, at the end of this month.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay, so you get on the road as well a lot. So
yeah,
cool.
this year has been great. Actually, I was in Argentina in Buenos Aires back in June with the Irish Embassy, and I was in Brazil at the start of the year, actually for Bridget's Day. I was involved in a project. Herstory did an exhibition called The Peace Heroines, and it's a visual exhibition. It's got a lot of information and photographs about women in Ireland, Northern Ireland, who were involved in the peace process, as well as internationally as well. And I was commissioned to do 9 portraits of women who were involved in the peace process. And that has toured. It was up in to meet the
Yeah,
president.
that was in one of the
It
pictures
was
you
up
sent
in
me as
our
well.
it was in the Houses of
Wow.
Parliament in Stormont, and they recently reprinted them on canvas, my paintings in Brazil, and translated the educational exhibition and launched it over there. So there's now a copy that can tour around South America. So we myself and Melanie from Herstory were invited over to talk about it and to launch it on Bridget's Day this year. So yeah, it's fab. I love it.
Wow. God, again, this is what I love talking to people like yourself. You hear with these little details you wouldn't have even imagined is possible. Like, so, yeah, it's great to see. I mean, we've talked to some young people as well in this, the art, illustrative animation world. So I'm sure they're going to love watching this and hearing the story and where it can bring you when you let someone just be themselves and be creative. So it's great, lovely to hear your story. And before we let you go, I mean, I could spend 3 hours here. We'll have to get you back in real person in the studio sometime in the future. So the website is This Is Frizz with a Z, obviously, or Z, whatever you prefer. That's
This is
.com.
Frizz, one Z, yeah. Thisisfrizz.com, yeah. And Instagram, This is Frizz.
And same on Instagram.
Facebook, This is Frizz, yeah. Instagram's probably where I post the most, actually. So Instagram's a good place to give me a follow.
Okay, it's cool. It's amazing. And as I said, the website then also has the map. So I didn't realize that. So I'm glad to highlight that as well. So people go on a little road trip any day and to see how many pictures you can get in front of all the amazing
Jerry did so
murals.
much work on that. So delighted, because people often make that comment and you're like, well, actually, there is a map. People have been saying it. They're like, I'd love to know where all the walls are. And there's a link to my shop as well on Big Cartel. So that's sort of another way to to try and make a living as an artist, basically. But thanks for having me.
Well, Marian, oh my God, look, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thanks for taking the time out. I'm so glad it took a lot of back and forward trying to get all our diaries collated together. But thank you so much. Thanks for making our town much cooler and prettier. They really are amazing additions to the town. They really lighten up so many little areas. So thank you. I mean, I'm a Galway man, but I'm saying thank you because I live here now. So you really do make a lovely job of the town. So thanks a million and keep up the amazing
Thanks so much.
work.
It's my pleasure. Cheers.
So that was Marian Noone, aka Frizz, an amazing artist of varied skills. You can see her work on loads and loads of places all over Ireland, and now, as we've learned, down in South America as well. So it's thisisfrizz.com. Thanks again for watching. Thanks to Brian behind the scenes for the camera work, and a big shout to Creative Ireland who have helped us put this series together. We'll see you all again next time. Thank you very much.
The Sligo Show is produced by Pixel Productions and hosted by Brendan Tierney. If you need video for your business or live event or would like to appear on the show, send us a message today.